He was out pulling weeds. But I went running outside. I'm handy now.
Oh, you're welcome.
I was so proud. No help.
Boy, Herb, you should start while it's quiet.
Yeah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners. Today's Wednesday, July 30th. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners. If we could have everybody turn off cell phones or turn them into silence, I would appreciate that. And we will call this meeting to order with a pledge and the prayer, please, by Dr. Lathrop.
Our dear God, we love you and we thank you for your love for us. God, remind us we need to believe you to the last minute and beyond that. You will always bless us, maybe not in our time, but in your time. So thank you for being right there at the last minute sometimes when we need you. We love you, God. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Lathrop,
Here.
Max Bauer,
Here.
Wheelock,
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas.
Yep.
Inman,
Here.
Rennie,
Here.
Lemcool.
Here. Thank you, Sarah, for your time here. Appreciate it. Next, we have the approval of the minutes for June 25th regular session,
Mr. Chairman, I'll make
July 16th special joint session, and July 21st special session.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion just for the June 25th, 2014 regular session minutes of the Board of Commissioners.
Support by Wheelock. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. Next, July 16th special joint session.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the joint session minutes with the Road Commission.
Support by Thomas. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried. Next is July 21st special session.
Mr. Chairman, move to approve the special session of July 21st, 2014 minutes.
Second.
Support by Inman. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, motion is carried.
Abstain.
One abstention.
A roll call on that one.
Okay.
Well, I wasn't there, so do I abstain too? Okay.
Do we have to have roll call on something like that?
You can do a voice vote.
A voice vote is always necessary with two abstentions.
Okay.
Okay? So motion is carried. Next is the first public comment. Sarah, if you could please read the rules, please.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act as amended. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. A, any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. B, no person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer Commissioner's question. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. Chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak.
Hearing the rules, is there anybody from the public that would like to make comment? Go ahead. Yep, please. State your name and address.
My name's Ron Castle. I live at 10164 Harmony Drive, Interlochen, Michigan. I'm here because I have a concern or complaint, however you want to look at it, regarding our 911 system for emergencies in Grand Traverse County on the weekends. I had kind of a process here that I wanted to go through, but I didn't know what the time limits were, so I'll just try to move quickly as possible. I'm here speaking on behalf of my brother because he's physically not able to be here. 3 Sundays ago, he decides he wants to, and his wife want to go for a beautiful walk on our Brown Bridge, Brown Trail out there. They go out there Sunday afternoon, 2:30, go for the walk. They get down to the point where they're almost to the overlook. He stops at the clearing 30 yards down. His wife goes down to the overlook. He hears a loud noise behind him, turns around, and here comes 2 pit bulls down the trail in attack mode, growling all the way. The first one hits him, knocks him down the hill, and I don't know if you've ever walked the trail out there, but you're on an incline like this. He's sliding down the incline. Both dogs are on attacking all the way down the hill. He's sliding down, kicking them back, until he finally comes up against a tree. When he comes up against a tree, he's laying in a prone position, and it goes on, this process, for about 5 minutes. He can see his wife over on the overlook. He's screaming for her to get up a tree. This is a man that is used to dogs. He's had a Rottweiler for 11 years. He's had a Doberman Pinscher, so he's not afraid of dogs. But he knows he's in fight for his life. He's got 2 shoulder replacements here, 1 shoulder replacement here, no upper body strength, and he's just kicking him in the head as hard as he can kick him. And he said, I'm kicking him hard enough that if it were a man, it would have put him out. He finally sees that the one dog constantly wants to get behind him, and he knows if he's backed up against a tree that the dog can't get right behind him. He's laying on the ground in a prone position, and so finally he sees his break, jumps up and climbs up a 3-inch tree, a pine tree, and he said, Ron, I look down and my legs aren't even hardly off the ground, and he said, I know they're going to drag me out of the tree. The dogs didn't drag him out of the tree. They never left the ground, but they got, after a short time, they decided that they'd had enough. They'd go up the trail. He can see his wife over there running around like a chicken with her head cut off, not knowing, what's going on. She's in a pure panic mode to walk back there and see what might be down there, and he comes walking up the trail. So they walk up the trail, get to the trailhead where the parking lot is. She walks around the corner. There's both dogs again coming after her. So she jumps in the car, gets away from it. She has to take the car, back the car, push the one dog out. My brother had jumped on the split rail fence. He had picked up a club about that big around. Again, said, Ron, I hit that dog right over the head, busted the
Your 3
thing,
minutes are up.
and it broke.
Can you get to the point, please?
I can get to the point. Okay, first of all, he calls 911. Mr. Castle, do you need some help? Do you need us to send services out there? No, I do not. I'm going into emergency services. Go into emergency services. They treated him. The dogs didn't get bit through the skin. They scratched him all up, dislocated his finger, tore his feet up in terms of the pounding. So he gets home after he gets out of the emergency, calls up the sheriff and says, did you send a car out there? No. I don't know what you're talking about. Well, did 911 call you? No, they didn't call in here. He says, you mean to tell me nobody dispatched a car out there in that emergency and there's young kids going out there? His answer from the police officer was, quote, what do you want me to do about it? Well, I want you to dispatch a car out there. That's not my job. Into the phone conversation. Goes back to 911. Calls 911. Aren't you legally responsible to call the sheriff department and notify them of this kind of a thing? Well, we already contacted the dog owner. Well, first of all, she said, did the dogs have a red and blue collar? Yes, they did. We've already contacted the dog owners and told them their dogs are on the loose. Whatever that means. So the bottom line is, he said, that's not good enough. She hung up on him. So from that point, he had to send pictures to animal control, to the prosecuting attorney's office, to the sheriff's office. Mr. Benson's response when he finally called my brother was, well, we have a problem up here. We got a big problem. Nobody seems to be on base on Sundays in the afternoon. He told him, you need to call animal control. That's what the officer initially told him. He called animal control. You ever tried to call animal control on Sunday? Nobody's home. We had other people tell us, well, there's a problem with animal control. It's a husband and wife team. Nobody's in there on the weekend. The whole process is there was nothing going on. Nobody seemed to care that you have an area out there that people utilize, young kids utilize it, women utilize it. We didn't get anybody out there. I appreciate the extra time that you gave me today. It's a concern. It is moved forward. The prosecuting attorney is going to move forward in one case, and they did issue both dog owners a certificate or a violation in there in regards to that. But I wanted you to be aware of it. It's not a working system. I don't know what the answer is. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the public like to make comment? Seeing none, we'll go on to the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented in our packet.
Support?
Support by Wheelock. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Next is the consent calendar, please.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file, or approval, is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. All information identified on the consent calendar can be viewed in its entirety at www.grandtraverse.org. A, receive and file. Annual accounting of the Grand Traverse County 911 Service District filed in Finance. 2, annual audit Northwestern Regional Airport Commission filed in Finance. 3, project report and environmental assessment by U.S. Army Corps of Engineers of Boardman River Restoration Project, public information session, August 7th. 4, Green Lake Township Annual Report regarding TIF. 5, shooting area public meeting minutes of June 24th, 2014. 6, Northern Michigan Substance Abuse Service minutes of May 5th, 2014. 7, special Board of Public Works meetings minutes, May 8th, 2014. 8, Traverse Area District Library minutes, May 15th, 2014. 9, Planning Commission minutes of May 20th, 2014. 10, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority minutes, May 28th, 2014. 11, Next Michigan Development Corporation minutes, May 29th, 2014. 12, Board of Public Works minutes, June 12th, 2014. 13, Special Board of Public Works minutes, June 12th, 2014. 14, Northern Lakes Community Mental Health minutes, June 19th, 2014. 15, Northwestern Regional Airport Commission minutes, June 24th, 2014. 16, Board of Public Works Special Finance minutes, July 1st, 2014. 17, Planning Commission minutes, July 15th, 2014. B, approvals. Public Health and Safety Committee did not meet in July. The Resource Management Administration Committee recommends approval of the following. 18, Area Agency on Aging 2015 Annual Implementation Plan. 19, authorization to purchase locks for Historical Courthouse, Allen Supply. 20, equipment lease jail dishwasher from Ecolab. 21, Joint Housing Task Force participation and membership. 22, agreement for substance use disorder services coordination between Northern Michigan Regional Entity and Grand Traverse County. 23, appointment to Substance Use Disorder Policy Oversight Board. Ways and Means Committee recommends approval of the following. 24, Healthy Futures Service Agreement Amendment Number 9. 25, Mitchell and McCormick Annual Software Maintenance and Support Agreement. 26, Written Hazard Communication Policy amended. 27, Staffing Plan Amendment, Vision and Hearing Program. 28, Social Media Policy. 29, Community Development Services Agreement. 30, Budget Adjustments. 31, Consulting Services Agreement, MGT of America Incorporation. 32, Approval to Post Vacancy District Court Probation Officer.
Hearing the consent calendar, is anybody from the public who'd like anything removed from the consent calendar? Any commissioners like anything removed from the consent calendar? Chris?
Number 28, please.
Number 28. Mr. Lathrop?
Same.
Same thing? Anything else you'd like to remove from the consent calendar? A motion to approve consent calendar minus the 28, number 28 social media
So moved.
policy. Motion by Wheelock, support by Maxbauer. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, you need a roll call.
Roll call.
No, we don't.
Yes, you do.
Roll, yeah, you do for
Bob said no.
consent calendar?
Bob has said that if there's agreement within the commissioners, that we do not have to have a roll call.
It's in our board rules, isn't
Vote
it?
is fine.
Huh?
Voice vote is fine.
For a roll
Voice
call
vote
for
is
a
fine.
consent calendar?
Yep.
Never heard of it.
So
You have
we just-
now.
Bob, we just learned something. So the motion is carried, all in favor. Next is the
Special business.
the special orders of business, the public hearing, Brownfield Plan, the Village of Kingsley.
Good evening. My name is Jean Dorenzi. I'm the Deputy Director of the Planning and Development Department. The public hearing this evening is for a brownfield plan on behalf of the Village of Kingsley. The Brownfield Authority staff put this together, and the brownfield plan provides for utilizing $21,980 to remove asbestos abatement at the old Farmers Co-op building located at 200 East Main Street, which is located in downtown Village and the Village of Kingsley within the DDA district. The plan outlines that we would be loaning the dollars to the Village of Kingsley. Should the property be sold within 10 years, they would have 15 years to pay back the loan. Should the property not sell, the loan would be converted into a grant. There is no TIF associated with this brownfield plan. The Village of Kingsley did concur with the plan, and the Brownfield Authority is recommending approval.
This is a public hearing, so I will open to the public for anybody in the public who'd like to make comment on this. Seeing everybody rush to the podium, I will close the public comment and come back to the board for resolution.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution as presented in our packet for the brownfield plan for the Village of Kingsley.
Support.
Support by Rennie. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Next, we have amendment to Articles of Incorporation for the Grand Traverse Hospital Finance Authority. Mark Hepler, Corporate Vice President and Chief Financial Officer, is here. And would you like to bring us up to speed on that?
Just a quick question, Mr. Chairman. In the agenda, it says Brownfield Plan, Village of Kingsley, and then it says approval of resolution of findings.
We had the public hearing and you approved the
Findings. I just wanted to make sure that that was
Yep.
clear on that.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
That's, Dean?
If I could go before Mark, were we done with that?
Yeah.
I think we
Yes.
were. Yes, we have Mark Hepler here from Munson and Ed Ness. You've already indicated their positions, but we have been working with Munson. Mark came to me in May based on some projects that they're anticipating, which are outside the boundaries of Grand Traverse County. The current Articles of Incorporation provide that the Hospital Finance Authority can work within Grand Traverse County. So the change here is basically allowing us to do those activities outside of Grand Traverse County. And Mark did say that he would come tonight, and he brought Mr. Ness with him, and he will briefly explain what they're thinking about doing.
Dean, you mentioned who's all on the Hospital Finance Authority. You?
Okay, myself, Heidi Sheppy, the county treasurer, Corey Hansen from the pavilions, and there are two other individuals that we
Oh, I'm sorry, I
meet.
didn't mean to put you on the spot. So,
Oh, boy, yeah, I
You
apologize.
meet so frequently.
I do not know, and I don't want to misspeak who
Okay.
those
no,
individuals are.
but there are 5 people.
There are
on
5
that.
people.
It's been since 2011, since we,
Right,
last meeting was in 2011.
yeah,
I believe so.
okay. So, Mark, if you'd bring us up to speed, introduce yourself, please.
Yes, thank you. My name is Mark Hepler, and I'm the Chief Financial Officer for Munson Healthcare in Traverse City. And we're here today for, in general, a change in the bylaws of the Hospital Finance Authority, which will allow us to finance outside of Grand Traverse County. I think, as you know, Munson's a regional facility, regional provider, and under the aspects of healthcare reform, we're getting closer to our affiliates. We've had a system up here in northern Michigan for a long time, and now we're getting closer to our affiliates and have an opportunity to buy 2 hospitals in Cadillac and Grayling, who we've been affiliated for a long time from CHE Trinity. So that's really the specific reason why we're here today, and also to fund the remainder of our cancer center.
Any questions from the commissioners on this?
Just, can you be more specific? I mean, are you looking for permission to go into the surrounding counties where you have relationships, like, you know, if you own the, I think you have the Kalkaska Hospital, I think, is part of your affiliation, and
Yes,
Yeah.
they're separate, but
Yes.
we manage them. They're part of
Okay.
our system.
okay, so you don't own them, but you manage them.
Correct.
So the permission for these would be the ones that you would own, not particularly manage?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Why did we have the rule in the first place that they couldn't finance things outside of the county? What was the reason for that?
Probably nothing existed outside the county.
So you haven't,
put that
up until
together.
now, wanted to purchase something outside of Grand Traverse County?
That's correct.
Okay. Does this impose any burden or risk on the county that we wouldn't otherwise have?
No, the Munson Healthcare assumes all of the financial risk through the bond documents that are drawn up, and the debt is all reported in there. Even though this is a separate hospital finance authority that was created by the county, we do not bear that risk, and it does not affect our legal debt margin or capacity.
So if they go belly up, it doesn't hurt us?
That is correct.
Okay.
Sonny?
Well, I think the purpose for the Hospital Finance Committee, as I understand it, it started 30 years ago, probably? You know,
1985, October of 85 was
Pretty
when the
close.
board.
I think I read some of the early hospital finance biddies, and names like Merle Cole and Bill Van Vorst were on the board at the time. These are individuals that I knew a long time ago, you know. But I think the purpose of the Hospital Finance Committee was the opportunity for the county to sell bonds at the county's bond rating to assist in the expansion of Munson Medical Center. And, you know, that was one of the big pieces. And if my memory is correct, when the last emergency room expansion was done, the county sold those bonds, and the savings was well over $1 million to Munson Hospital by the county's bond rating of selling those bonds. So, you know, I certainly believe that, you know, sitting on this board is we can see where the benefit to our community as a whole comes by using this tool that we have available to us to help Munson Hospital expand. And as I understood this when I read it, they're looking to improve, whether it be purchasing other areas outside of the county or make improvements to facilities they own outside of the county, and they may or may not want to sell bonding for those, and that would have to be done through our Hospital Finance Committee. And I believe that, you know, the benefit of that is pretty obvious.
So can I have a motion to approve it?
Motion to approve is presented.
Support.
Support by Wheelock. Is there any other discussion? I think this is a great thing. It shows the partnership between Grand Traverse County and the hospital by allowing them to be able to have this authority to be able to get their bonding. So we appreciate it. So any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you for your
coming.
support.
Appreciate it. Next is Paul Soma, Intern Superintendent, Traverse City Public Schools. I've given Paul about 10 minutes to make a presentation on,
And he's looking for help.
and Kelly Hall, who is the president, right?
Thank you for that. Apologize for not having Kelly on the agenda there, but thought it would be beneficial for her to join me. Thank you, Chairman Lemke, for your letting us present tonight. We really appreciate it. This is the first meeting that we're having to introduce the public, first meeting outside of our own TCAPS board meetings, to introduce the public to a ballot issue that will be on the November ballot. And we want to, relative to a goal of this meeting, is to educate the community, to begin to educate the community, and certainly then to answer questions about a millage renewal, pure and simple millage renewal for the operating millage for TCAPS. And as I begin a very short PowerPoint presentation, I'd ask you to think about in your head if you happen to know what millage rate we apply to homesteads, to your houses, as it relates to our operations, and what millage rate we apply to non-homesteads as it relates to operations. And I will tell you, this ballot question is simply a renewal of both of those rates. So, see if I can figure out how. So, the one thing I want to introduce before I even get into the details of the ballot proposal is just to share my vantage point relative to the value that TCAPS brings to the community. we have a wonderful community that we live in. I think we all would find agreement with that. And part of the fabric of that community is a school system that supports a wide continuum of folks, children, over 10,000 children, from a wide variety of socioeconomic backgrounds. And really, it's an honor and a pleasure for me to work for this organization and see the good that it does for these families, for these children, and then by extension for the community that's out there. And sometimes I don't think we celebrate that enough. We don't pretend to be perfect. We're an organization of over 10,000 students, over 1,500 employees, lots of people in there and lots of constituencies in there, and we're not a perfect organization. But on whole, we deliver a lot of value to the community, and I'm proud of it. We should be proud of it, and we should celebrate that. And I can go on and on about the good things. A few of them are listed up here relative to nationally ranked high schools, the wide variety of curriculum and programs that we provide. Opportunities for college credit. This has kind of been in the news lately. We've started an early college program that, in addition to the advanced placement programs and the dual enrollment programs that we have that we work in conjunction with NMC and other colleges, we have estimated, based on the current cost of college, that the number of credits that students achieve on an annual basis saves parents in our region $2 million as it relates to college costs. And that's just one example of the benefit we provide. I like to talk about the other end of the spectrum too. Parents and students starting out in school, preschool, some that come from backgrounds that they're not very well off. We provide opportunities for students to get a good education, provide them opportunities in life up through and including Traverse City High School, which is an alternative high school that provides a lot of benefits for our community. So I could go on that, but I'd like to start the introduction to this with kind of my vantage point relative to TCAPS. What's on the ballot? It's a renewal. Don't want to get into all the details of school finance, but ultimately we're kind of saddled with a system that requires us to still levy some operational millage. It is not, we do not levy any operational millage on homes. So the answer to my first question was zero mills on homesteads. It will remain 0 mills on homesteads as we move forward. By law or by structure set up at the state, businesses, second homes pay 18 mills to support public education. That's what we're asking to continue for the next 10 years. We've had this in place technically since 1995. There was a rollback in 97, 98, and since 1999 it's been exactly what we have in place and what we're asking for as a renewal moving forward. 36% of TCAP's operating budget, we simply can't operate it without it. To kind of drill that down a little bit, without this millage, what TCAPS will be forced to do, we'd have to borrow $31 million. That's what we're talking about $31 million for our operation. Our general fund budget stands at about $88 million. What would it imply if we were not able to get this passed over the next few elections? We would have to close elementary schools, increase class sizes, not marginally. We're talking about adding 12, 15, 20 students, literally doubling class sizes in some cases. Eliminate transportation extracurricular. That just puts detail behind the statement that really we can't operate without 36% of our budget, and that's what it boils down to. Relative to what people can do, certainly be educated on this. You can visit our website, share the information. One of the key things is we don't want people to be surprised about it. Hence, this is our first meeting. We have many, many, many more planned over the course of the next few months. We want people to know what's out there, that this is a renewal. It's not related to what was on the ballot in the last couple of years. Those were capital requests for bond authorization. This is an operational millage required to keep our doors open. You can see the rest there as it relates to visiting our website at tcaps.net, but also looking at liking us on Facebook and sharing the information as it's become known and as you educate yourself with others, so people understand what's out there. And that's basically it. Just going to leave this up on the screen in case there's people are looking at, just to summarize what I've talked about. November 4th election, renewal of current millage, 18 mills on non-homestead properties, no millage on homesteads, and again, we can't operate without it. That's the short presentation, and certainly I'm willing to take any and all questions related to this, and certainly if there's any opportunity that you want to ask anything about TCAPS, I'm happy to answer those too.
Larry?
Well, just a couple points. One is, I certainly think you deserved the last go-around request from the public, and it was just unfortunate it just didn't happen. And you guys did, I think, a good job in trying to explain what those villages were going to go for, especially the second round. I certainly am as an elected official, supportive of you going out and getting your renewal. And even with your renewal, you're going to have ongoing forwarded challenges and funding and, keeping teachers' compensation up with the industry and capital improvements and all those things you got to figure out. This is just a must millage for the members of the public that are listening. And I certainly support this equal funding. Somehow we've got to get this message down to the state, whoever gets elected as a representative, that we've got to have equal funding for our per student, and we're getting shorted up here, and that's putting a lot of pressure on us to ask for millages, and that has to turn around. So I commend you for the job that you're doing. I commend you for what you have done, and I know you've got a terrific challenge ahead of you.
Thank you for that. And just a quick comment, we are losing, our best proponent in Howard Walker, who's really fought on the equity piece. I always like to compliment him and thank him for that. This is an operational millage. It does not address the capital needs. Those still exist. We did not pass that last year. The board of TCAPS and myself, we've talked about that, and we'll be looking to address that in future years. And again, it gets confusing, but this is pure and simple operational. The capital needs still exist out there. We're going to have to address them. It's just not going to happen this November.
Right.
Go ahead.
So this is not an increase, it's just a renewal of the existing.
Exactly.
And tonight, we're not making a decision, you're just informing us?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Charlie?
How confident are you you're going to be able to pass this?
We don't take anything for granted, certainly. It's vitally important. We can't operate the district without passing it, so we want to be really clear about something that if this somehow does fail in November, we have to now then start putting it on every ballot available, or else we don't open our doors. And the millage expires in 2015. It means that we will be able to operate in the 15-16 year, but in the fall of 16, if this isn't passed, we not open our doors absent some of the things I had up there, borrowing $31 million, because this is a cash flow issue for us, not to get into the technicalities of that. This is cash that comes in the summer. Our state funding doesn't start coming until October 20th. It's a whole nother issue, but cash flow purposes, we wouldn't be able to open the doors in September without this.
How do you plan to educate the public on this?
So this is our first foray into doing that. We want to be, I am reaching out along with board members from TCAPS to all as many constituents as possible that'll have us. I've made contact with the majority of townships within our school system, PTOs, information through our school system, that type of thing, reaching out to meetings like the Kiwanis clubs and service groups too, which we've done in the past. Again, I think that one of the differences of our last campaigns, which we've had 30 and 40 and 50 meetings, sometimes not very well attended, and we have to try to find ways to connect with people to get the message. But one of the major differences is going out to the townships and meeting with them and meeting with their supervisors and their boards, doing the same thing as I'm doing here.
Any other comments? I'd just like to make comment that tonight my 8-year-old granddaughter come in, and she was so excited because she got accepted in the tag group.
Oh,
and she's already thinking about the first homework assignment that she has to complete on the first day. So she's already preparing for it. She's really excited. And I said, "What's that mean?" She says, "Well, that means that I'm smart and I'm going to get smarter." Her number one goal is she wants to go to Harvard.
Wow.
And she wants to write for the Washington Post and the New York Times.
Wow.
So that's where being young, that's really cool to have a young person have that kind of a goal. And your school system is breeding that. And that's what makes us so successful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You're not a proud grandpa at all.
Oh, yes. Any other comments? Paul, Kelly, thank you very much.
Thanks for
Appreciate
coming.
it. Thank you. Next, we have items removed from the consent calendar. Number 28, social media policy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When this was passed in committee, the Ways and Means Committee, I reluctantly voted for it, and I've reread this policy, and in my view, it's much too restrictive. I'm a strong believer in the freedom of speech, and when you sign on to a Facebook page, generally you've got passwords, and I mean, to me, this is too much monitoring. I think it crosses the line, in my view, and I cannot support this policy as written. That doesn't mean that I won't support a policy, but I read this one again, and it's much too restrictive.
Larry?
I will make a motion to approve the policy as presented in our consent calendar, and then I'd like to make a remark.
Do I have
Once you
support?
get a second.
Support.
I have support. Okay, you have a comment? I'm sure. But anyway, go ahead, Larry.
Well, even though there is a point in the policy about some level of review or enforcement, I think my feeling from it was that, we have to rely on, number one, we have to rely on the judgment of, Jen Seaman, our Human Resources Director, that this is an issue that has been brought up at other human resources conferences and meetings, and this is, we're approaching a new stage of communication in our lifetime with the internet and the Facebook and all this other inexchangeable information, and it's important, I think, for the county to be open and transparent and to make sure that we have all the services and programs that people understand that they can get from the county, and that's part of this communication process. And I think the policy is there just to make sure that everyone conducts themselves as an employee professionally to all the members of the public, and they don't get into any personal items, and I think that's fine. And I don't think, from what I heard from the last meeting, is that we're not going to have anybody really standing by, reviewing, reading, and enforcing unless somebody really comes to the attention of administration or human resources and says there's a particular problem or issue, you need to look into it. So I don't view this as micromanaging people in their work environment unless there's a problem that arises. So I'm supporting of it.
Dan?
I wasn't here when we discussed this, so I need to be filled in. I'm wondering what it is we're afraid of. Why are we doing this? Has anything happened to make us want to do this? That's one. And secondly, do these rules apply to the Board of Commissioners ourselves? For instance, let's say that I take a picture of the dock that got squashed out at Marion Island, and I want to send it to my fellow commissioners. That's a county issue. Can I do that? I mean, do these are...
I think I can answer that.
Okay.
Because it applies specifically to employees, not elected officials.
I always thought I was kind of an employee. I'm treated like one, but,
Well,
yeah, but I'm not, though,
Yeah,
right?
we would distinguish between, if it was intended to include elected officials, then it should say elected officials, but
Okay, so it does include us
it
then?
says employees.
Okay. Next.
Can I add to that? I'm sorry, Commissioner Latham. And also, it's just the social media, so if you were to send a picture to your commissioners by email, that's not covered as part of this policy, just
Okay.
to further add on to that. This is just in social media.
So if I use social media, I could get
Well,
trouble?
not you, as Bob had
Yeah.
mentioned, but I was just clarifying that we have a communications policy, and that outlines email communication, passwords, that sort of thing. This is just really relating to social media sites.
Let's say that Johnny Jump Up, who works for Danny sees a picture of that, looks at that dock, it's squashed, it's a mess, he puts it in social media, is he in trouble?
That is inappropriate to put that on social media, yes.
Really, why?
He should report it to
Any,
Danny.
right, the appropriate channel is to report that to Danny so that we can look into the matter.
then
Taking
what-
pictures of
what-
county
what does-
assets, county clients, county materials is what we don't want to have on social media sites unless permission is given.
Well, I'm not arguing with that, I'm just taking devil's advocate here so I can make a proper vote. But
Sure.
what does he do then? He's just a citizen of this county and he pays taxes, he works for the county, that's true. So what does he do then if he thinks something's going wrong in the county and he wants to blow the whistle? He can't do it through social media?
No.
Well, I think there'd first need to be a distinction if he was acting as a county employee
No, I'm just saying he's.
during
jumping
8 to
up,
5,
yeah.
if he works 8 to 5. There would have to be, was he working when he did this, or was he acting as
Let's say
a
it's
citizen?
after hours.
And there are.
He's not working.
Well, if he goes out and takes a picture, I think we would have to, investigate that into what's going on there, but there are appropriate channels to notify us if there's something inappropriate going on versus going on social media saying, the county's a mess, et cetera, adding a picture of something.
Have we had any troubles with this in the past? Why are we doing this?
No. This is very common policy. This is not a new policy by any means for counties or entities to have. Because there are issues out there with social media. People posting things on there saying that they hate their boss. They are harassing people on social media. That crosses the line into the work environment when they are doing that, even in off hours, if they're harassing somebody that they work with. The policy does, we're not trying to prohibit any of their rights whatsoever. Chris Forsyth has looked at the policy, and there is actually right in the beginning, it's not intended or designed to prohibit the lawful exercise of employee rights under state or federal law. That's not what we're trying to do here. They still have all the rights granted to them. It's more, we don't want pictures of clients taken and posted on social media. We don't want discussions of clients on social media.
I understand that, but the dock thing I don't get. And the fact that our esteemed prosecuting attorney says it's okay doesn't mean he says it's needed.
Well, since you're asking.
I am asking.
I'm not a fan of this policy. I think we approved it as to form. We did not draft it. Chris had some serious concerns about First Amendment rights. I have more concerns about Fourth Amendment rights. This policy indicates that employees' personal computers could be searched by the county.
That's what bothers me.
Under some circumstances. There is the general clause at the beginning that talks about we're not going to violate any state or federal laws. But the problem is, are the individual supervisors or department heads going to know what all those laws are? I mean, I don't pretend to be an expert when it comes to First Amendment law. And I think that my biggest concern is that this could be enforced improperly by an individual supervisor or director because the language is there. I can search an employee's individual personal computer to find out if they've, I guess, trashed me on Facebook. And I think that could have some civil rights, some sort of civil rights violation possibly. It just seems like this is opening a lot of concerns about potential violations of civil rights by the county. But in form, and if it were applied properly in all situations, I don't have a problem with it.
Dan?
Well, another thing I don't like about it is that one person gets to decide, however nice they may be, and a person can lose their job over this. I think it should be looked at again, and perhaps there should be a committee of people that decide if a person has, and not just necessarily staff, if you're looking at losing a job over this. So I'm not going to be voting for this, just in case you want to know.
Any other comments? Charlie?
We did have a discussion before. We discussed the subjective nature of some of this, and who would be in charge of looking and/or deciding. That's the problem I have with it. As Dan said, you can have a situation with a particular individual making a decision that might be clouded or something like that, and then would get us into some trouble that way. That's what I think makes people uncomfortable about it. Not the overall intent of it, but that it could be abused internally, and I think we've seen it here in the past. People can do that kind of thing, to be quite honest with you. So whether I'm in favor or not, I really can't say right now.
Sonny?
You know, I think I support the intent of the policy. I'm not sure that I quite support all of the bits and pieces. You know, I'm not one of those social media persons, so it's very difficult for me to see, you know, although, you know, I have children and nieces and nephews that use it all the time, and some of the stuff that I see that they've posted and other people posted, it doesn't, you know, I can't imagine why any normal person wants to know that information. But, you know, I tend to be concerned that, you know, that we could have a confrontation between two employees, whether it be a supervisor or an employee, and it gets blown out of proportion and ends up all over social media. You know, I've had those issues happen between my employees, you know, and those become issues that, you know, come back and look bad for all of us. So I think a policy probably is appropriate. I'm just not sure that we've got all those bugs worked out of this one yet.
Larry?
Well, I guess I'm in favor of the intent of the policy. In hearing Bob Cooney's opinion on it, I guess I would have more of a comfort level if we probably didn't pass this thing and brought it back to Jen and Bob to work on, to avoid some of the concerns that Bob has that potentially could be out there. So, I mean, would you have a comfort level in working with, looking at this thing again and maybe clearing up some matters?
Yeah, I wasn't aware the prosecuting attorney's office had any concerns,
Yeah.
honestly. I sent it to Chris Forsyth. He gave me back that I think there was one item that was changed and had his blessing. So I did already check there. I did not know there were any other concerns whatsoever. So I have, actually Dave Benda and I have been working on this and pursued the department heads as well as an option. I sent it to all of them ahead of time, months ago, and got feedback from them as well. So it's not, I guess, there was a lot of input into the creation of the policy, and I again, wasn't aware there were concerns from the prosecuting attorney's office, because I certainly wouldn't have moved forward if there were concerns.
Okay, can we have any other comments? Dean?
Just one. I do know that MMRMA, our liability risk manager, even years ago recommended that their members have a social media policy. And in Jen's defense, I too was not aware that there were these issues that Bob has explained tonight. We certainly work with our prosecutor and our civil counsel, but yeah, we were not aware that there were those concerns. Bob did mention, though, that I think some of that is addressed on page 90. I mean, the policy is not intended to prohibit or violate, you know, an employee's rights. So, you know, I thought when I reviewed it, I thought the policy was appropriate. I know that Jen and Dave spent a lot of time on it, but this is the first time I've heard the concerns that Bob has with it. So,
I'm going to ask for a roll call.
I thought when I talked to Chris that he had made those concerns known to at least Dave. So,
Okay, Chris?
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to, the reason I pulled this, well, there were several reasons I pulled this from the consent calendar. Again, when I saw that you can search people's personal stuff, I mean, I agree, you know, county equipment is county equipment. You know, people you have a right to look at this. It's yours. But when you're talking about people's personal home computers and what they do on their personal time on their personal computer, I mean, I just would like an opportunity to sit down and express. I'm not trying to be critical of you, Jen. That was not my intent for pulling this. And when Dean said that, you know, in your defense, I want to be absolutely clear that I was not being critical of you when I pulled this. I've just got some serious concerns about this, not a policy, but the way this is written.
Just to clarify, the policy isn't intended to search anyone's home computer. I don't know, I'm not searching, the policy wouldn't allow us to search someone's home computer. It might be if they posted something from their home on a social media site, it's out on social media. So, I mean, it's not like we're going to request someone's hard drive from their home. It's that you could post right now on social media from your home computer, and we could see it on social media. That's what that is. So if that's misconstrued in here, I apologize for that. So we're not, the intent wasn't to search home computers by any means.
I'm going to call for a roll call vote. Sarah?
Maxbauer?
No.
Wheelock?
No.
Thomas?
Nope.
Inman?
No.
Rennie?
No.
Lathrop?
No.
Lemkool?
No. Motion fails.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to have this item brought back to Jen Seaman, Dave Benda, and Bob Cooney for further evaluation.
I think the motion should be to table it.
No?
No, it's,
We already
Just
did.
we don't want to.
No, you can't table
All right.
it, no.
it's done,
Yeah, I want to,
but they can come back.
they can, I'd like to have a motion to have them reconsider the policy.
Do I have support?
With these issues. Support.
Support. Any other discussion on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion's carried. Thank you. Next is department action items, administrative finance. First one is contract extension, enforcement patrol. Dean?
The key item here, this is on page 108, is Chris, when she put this together, we're correcting for the error in the amount. It's actually in the recommendation higher than the amount that was mentioned at the previous meeting, so.
Motion to approve
So moved.
by Wheelock, support by Lathrop. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Wheelock?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yep.
Inman?
Yes.
Rennie?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yes.
Maxbauer?
No.
Lemkool?
Yes. Okay, motion's carried. I might mention that they are in the audience, the owner of Horse Patrol.
I know.
So, thank you for being here. Thanks, Joe. Next is June claim summary, which is the handouts on your desk.
Motion to approve the July
July.
2014 claim summary is presented.
Support. Support by Wheelock. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Next is the comprehensive annual financial report for 2018.
Typo.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have Steve Peacock, who is our auditor with
It was in your box.
Raymond here to present to you a brief, I hope he's not going through the entire document.
I know.
He's going to give you
I'm
an
looking forward
overview
to
of
talking about every page and every number.
Oh, we're going to be here a while.
No, I'm just
But I turn it over to Steve.
Thank you, everybody. My name is Steve Peacock. I am the audit partner at Raymond, responsible for the financial report for Grand Traverse County for the year ended 12/31/13. And I didn't know the auditors had quite the ability to clear the room when when you start bringing this up, everybody from the audience takes off. So I will be brief and succinct. This is the December 31st, 13 numbers. This report has been filed with the State of Michigan, the Department of Treasury, timely filed, so they have the results of our audit on file with the state. We issued an unmodified opinion, which is a little bit different language than what we've had in the past. It used to be called unqualified opinions. They're now called unmodified opinions. So the opinion issued on the financial statements was a clean opinion. That's the highest level of assurance that we can place on your financial statements. As part of the audit, there was also a single audit that was required to be performed for any institution that spends over $500,000 of federal dollars. You're required to have a single audit. And we performed a single audit for the county again at 12/31/13. And there are two opinions issued in the back of your document that talk specifically about the procedures that we did during the single audit. And I'm willing to talk at length about any one of the opinions, but I'll tell you the first opinion in the document is about a 30,000-foot overview of what the county does with internal controls over financial reporting. And we did not have any material problems or any issues to report with respect to that. That was a clean or unmodified opinion on that opinion. The second opinion is issued for the audit results that we perform when we get into the grant documents. So we select certain grants that are required to be tested under the Federal Single Audit Act, and that second opinion discusses the matters that the results of the audit that we gained during the performance of those procedures. There was one finding in that single audit, and that was reported. It was a allocation of payroll issue that the county has agreed that they're going to modify that going forward in 14, and I don't anticipate this being a repeat comment from last year. So from our chair, from the auditor's chair, it's a clean opinion on all fronts. The county's in good shape as far as the audit document goes and as far as having it been timely filed. You're in compliance with the Single Audit Act. And what I'll do, I'll just talk real quickly about a couple numbers in the financial statements, and if you want to follow along, you can. If you don't, you can just listen to my brief analysis of this. And then I do want to talk about some upcoming financial accounting standards that are going to affect the county in next year for the 15 year. Overall for the county, $124 million of total assets, $29 million of total liabilities, and the remainder of that is called the net position of the county of $89.8 million. And that 89.8 consists of different parts of that number. Net invested in capital assets is $51.5 million, so that's bricks and mortars, the building you're sitting in today. You've got restricted for non-expendable trust activities. You have revenue sharing reserve, state mandated programs, drain commission, that's a component unit issue, and the unrestricted portion is $32 million. So your overall net unrestricted position of $32 million is about a third of your overall operating revenue, a little more than a third of your overall operating revenues. So, no, I'm sorry, back up, that's not right. You have $32 million in unrestricted net position, and you have total general revenues during the year of $28 million. So you've got enough in your reserves that equates about 1 year's of revenues, and that's a good position to be in. Overall operating activities of the county, you ended up having a change in net position or net income of $1.4 million year over year. Okay, so you increased your net position by $1.4 million in 2013, which is good. I'm seeing a lot of red ink in counties and cities and townships and authorities in this position here. The county did a good job managing the revenues coming in and the expenditures that were going out. And on that size of the budget that you have, $1.4 million is just about a break even. So that's, the money came in and then you spent the money. So not a big loss to report, not a big profit to report. It's just about a break even. So the auditor, from the auditor's chair, is pretty happy with this. Okay. You did adopt one accounting standard during the year. That was GASB 61. And all that did was essentially take a portion of your net position and carve it out for the Land Bank Authority. It didn't change overall net position for the county, but it did allocate a certain portion of your net assets that were in the county last year over to the Land Bank Authority for the current, for 13. So Prior year, you elected to adopt GASB 63 and 65. That was in 2012, so I'm not going to talk a lot about that. But there is an accounting pronouncement that's coming out, and some of you may have heard of this, and if you haven't, it's a big one. It's GASB 68. It is the requirement of local units of government, colleges, universities, public school systems, and so forth, nationwide, to put on your financial statement the net liability of your pension obligation. So in the financial statements, at the section right after the footnotes, and I'm going to get you a page number here to look at, because it makes it easier to discuss it when you look at the actual table.
104.
You're faster than I am on this iPad.
I got it.
102, probably.
Still working on it. Yeah. It begins on page, yes, 102. So what you have on 102, 103, 104, 105, and 106 and 7 are the tables that are the different plans that are within the county. One of them is the road commission, so that doesn't necessarily apply to you, but it's presented here because the road commission is a component unit of the county. And we'll just talk about the first table because the theory is the same in every table that succeeds that. If you look at the actuarial evaluation date column on the far left-hand side, 2012, and then the next column over shows the assets of the plan for these retirement liabilities of $41.9 million. The next column is the actuarially determined liability under the provisions of these plans, or of this plan. The next column over is the kicker. That's the unfunded portion of that plan. So when GASB 68 is adopted, the number that's going to be used for a basis to do this is going to be that $43.4 million. And how that's going to be put onto your books is a direct reduction to net position and a credit to a liability. So as you've had in the past, we've only reported these as outstanding obligations in the footnotes. What GASB 68 is doing is it's taking it now and actually putting it on your balance sheet. So in this case, for example, you got $43.4 million in this particular plan. The next plan has $7.3 million. The next plan has $3 million, $3.1 million. The next one is $4.8 million. That's the pavilions. Road Commission has $3.3 million. And then a $5.5 million on other post-retirement benefits at the Road Commission. So you can see these numbers are big. These are very, very big numbers. 3 years ago when GASB announced 68 was going to become effective in 15, there was a big charge to get it rescinded and to get it changed or modified. The GASB did not bend 1 inch on it. Last year there was talk and lobbying to try to get them to modify it and possibly stair-step it over a number of years. The governmental board did not agree with that, and they've kept 68 basically true to its original form to record these liabilities. I'm telling you that because I just don't want next year when you're looking at the net position this year and next year $50-some million of that is gone. I'm telling you now why it's going to be gone. It's because GASB 68 is a requirement to be adopted by all these county governments nationwide for next year's financial statements.
Questions, go ahead.
Question.
So I know you're probably good at math in your head. What if next year was now? And we put that $40 million that we have unfunded, would we be in the red?
Not on an overall net position basis, no. It would chew up all of your unrestricted net position. You're going to have to make some other decisions as far as...
Well, for instance, you said we look pretty good this year, but if we applied those new standards to us, we probably wouldn't look very good.
You're not going to look as good as you look this year for sure. But keep in mind also that every municipal unit of government in the country is in the same boat you're in. So everybody is going to take this charge to their net asset position nationwide. And I just got back from a seminar in Seattle last week, and they had the Moody's people there. I don't know, are you a Moody's County, Dean?
Yes.
Okay. And the big question that I'm getting from boards like you are, what is this going to do to our bond rating and the cost of capital when they go to borrow money? And Moody's is out in front of this already. Moody's already has a rating scale that they're using. It's got a little bit of GASB 68 in it, but they have taken 68 and they've modified it for their bond purposes. And they have already taken this into account when they go to do your bond rating, if you go to issue another set of bonds. So is it going to affect you? They say no. So they say specifically in their presentation that it is not going to affect your bond rating. But the way that they are going about doing county government, state government analysis of financial statements is very different than what it's been in years past. So your bond rating may go down based on that analysis, which incorporates parts of 68. Yes?
Well, basically, I want to state that we're $40 million in debt, and we haven't talked about it recently. But the fact that we haven't talked about it doesn't mean it's not true. How it's reported and what our bond issues are important, but still, the math of it is we owe $40 million of unfunded retirement stuff. And I think we ought to be out of the closet about this. And I think that's what this law is saying, just for the record.
It's very succinctly what they are saying.
Okay.
Yeah, and being with the National Association of Counties and the Finance Intergovernmental Committee, we dealt strongly in this issue with GASB on a national basis with all county commissioners around the country. The word we got was this was more of a disclosure item rather than, raising it from a footnote that someone may not read to a disclosure on your balance sheet. And that the rating companies at that time nationally had told the National Association of Counties that this was not that the disclosure was not going to be, as you may have, as you said, chewed up. It doesn't really chew it up. We still have that standing cash position, and this unfunded liability is not due all now. It's due over 20 years. So it's a disclosure that you have a mortgage out there for the next 20 years, which we are making those payments to, our retirement vendor.
Correct.
And it's a disclosure to say that you have this unfunded liability, but the bonding agency, we understand that amount has to be paid over the actuarial amount of 20 years, let's say, if that's where we're at on an annual basis, and that as long as you've got the cash flow in the organization to make those obligations as you go forward per year, so those payments are made and those benefits are made, then you have to consider it it's not push the panic button time. We just have to be focused that is a debt that we have to take care of over the next 20 years, and we're meeting those payments. But we have to disclose that it's a debt now rather than a footnote.
That is absolutely correct.
Just like a building note.
Yep.
Okay?
And to that point, the way the GASB looks at this and the way it's been told to practitioners is this liability has existed since the beginning of time. And the Governmental Accounting Standards Board follows the Financial Accounting Standards Board's few years after. You may recall years ago under the commercial rules, they went to pension reform. And that disclosed and put all these liabilities on large corporations' balance sheets now. So now the government side is falling into suit now. What did it do to the commercial enterprises with their stock prices, with their dividend yield, all that kind of stuff? You can see history there. What's going to happen now, the history is going to get written next year in 2015 when the governments go down this road. It's not push the panic button, and that's not the intent of what I'm trying to get at. I just want to make sure that next year when I come and see you guys, you're going to say, wow, last year we had all these net assets, and today we've got half of them. Because those are going to go. They're going to be booked, they're going to be taken off the balance sheet. They're going to be a separate liability. There's going to be a tremendous amount of additional disclosure. But Commissioner Inman's right, it's not a cash draw today. It is an obligation you are paying based on your actuarial determined amount. You're being current with that, and it would expect to be amortized over time. But I just, again, I'm trying to make sure the board knows that this is not, I don't want it to be a surprise. At this meeting next year, I don't want it to be a surprise to you all, okay? The other part about the pronouncement is that you need to understand, without going into a lot of actuarial detail, principally, actuaries have used around an 8% interest rate for return on these things. GASB 67, which is the precursor to 68, is applicable to MERS. MERS has to adopt 67 this year. And 67 is changing the way they're determining the actuarial liability. So they're not going to use flat 8%. They're going to take a market performance-based analysis on this. So if you're getting 2 and 3%, historically, that number is going to go up. These numbers here you're seeing in these tables are going to go up. Using 8%, they would stay about the same number here. So until MERS is completely 67 compliant, Dean will get the report from MERS, and we'll see that, and we'll use that for our audit next year. But these numbers can fluctuate significantly depending on how MERS, when they adopt 67.
It's going to go up.
It's going to go up.
All I can say is hallelujah, honestly, because first of all, we need to have that, it's a liability, it needs to be on the balance sheet. That's number one. Number two, for MERS to suggest that we consistently are going to get 8%, those of us who want or believe we're going to consistently get 8%, you know, guarantee, I mean, it's like that commercial. You're going to get 10% year after year after year, and then the company goes bankrupt. I still remember that because it was a George Hamilton ad. I'm old. Anyway, I really am glad that we are being, that GASB is doing this, because I think it gives commissioners and council people across the country a clear understanding of their position.
Yep.
And you know, you have to address it. We have to address it, and we're going to have to address it. Well, to quote George Hamilton, year after year after year.
Well, and the 8%, Commissioner Maxbauer, is not just used by MERS. It's been used by a lot of different actuarial
I know,
firms.
and it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And you know, the years when you're getting 18% of the stock market, that seemed low. But now,
I know.
if we're going to get 2 and 3%, I think it needs to be more market-based.
Right, I agree with
But
you.
it's, at least it's realistic,
Correct.
Right,
and that's what we need.
yeah, I agree with that.
One point, actually GASB 68, we don't, it's not effective for 2014, it's effective for 2015,
15,
correct?
yes, that's correct. I'm
So-
sorry. Yep.
Yeah, but, okay.
Yeah, so it won't be in this year's financial statements. It'll be in next year's financial statements.
Dean, have we got our report yet for 2013, or, 13?
We do have our actuarial valuation. It's about very close to where we were a year ago. We still have a comparable liability. We're approximately 49% funded, so despite the good year that they had in 2013, you know, from the losses that they've been smoothing, we're really not making significant progress in funding that.
Even though we've accelerated the payment.
Correct. Correct.
So, Charlie, what's the unfunded liability for the community mental health? Do you know? Do you remember?
No, but there is some there. I think it's around $6 million, actually.
They accelerated and paid $4 million when I was on that board, because they were $4 million underfunded. They paid the $4 million. They're still $6 million underfunded. Now, something's wrong with the actuarial when that happens. I have a real problem with that. You know, and that's what scares me about us trying to prepay this, that we could still end up with the same liability. Because if we go to the 3% and they double this thing to $160 million, and you paid you paid your $50 million into it, you're still $110 million behind, and that doesn't make sense.
No.
Yeah, I just have a problem with it. So
The provisions of 67, again, that's the one that applies to MERS, and that's what MERS has to do, is very game-changing in the business as far as what these actuarial reports are going to look like. Now, the report that Dean got, another county client of ours got their updated report, and they challenged MERS and said, is this report you gave us 67 compliant? Are these the numbers that are going to be coming out when you give us 67? They said, no, it's not. Because they're not required to adopt until this year for 67. So they're still not, they're not there yet. We don't know what these numbers are going to be. They could be comparable this year from last year, But they're not using the same methodology next year. So these numbers are going to change.
So hang on to your boots.
Yeah, just hang on. And again, this is just more informational than anything else. I don't want to...
Their actuarials have never made any sense as long as I've read them anyway. There's nothing about the math that makes sense. There's nothing about the investment that makes sense. It just, where they come up with the numbers, I have no idea.
Right.
But what I do know is they tell Grand Traverse County, you make this payment and you're fine, and we've made that payment every year.
Yep.
I might also add that the pavilions disagreed with their actuarial because they were using the same principles for the pavilions as what they're using for Grand Traverse County, and they believe that there's differences. So they're questioning their liability on that, because this is going to affect the pavilion's financial statement, and it's also going to affect the road commission financial statement along with ours.
That's correct.
So that's where it's going to be. Yep. So, any other questions or comments? I need a motion to approve the audit report.
Or to accept it, I think.
To accept the audit report.
To accept.
Motion.
To accept or to approve?
I think it's to accept it.
Accept it.
Yeah, motion to accept the audit report as presented.
Support by Thomas. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion's carried. Steve, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, Commissioner.
And I know you've had nothing but good comments about our accounting department and the people that are there.
Well, I tell you, it's that 260-some page document doesn't go without a little bit of blood, sweat, and tears. And without Dean and his staff there, it just doesn't happen. And our hats off to Dean. Very good to work with. I've known Dean. Dean was my first boss out of college, in case you guys didn't know.
I'll be darned.
And so whatever I didn't say right today, you can blame that on Dean. But no, I appreciate you guys being a client of ours, and we look forward to many more years of mutual working together. And again, Dean's staff is awesome. So that's really helps us get through all this.
Thank you very much.
Continue your meeting, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is a request to rescind hiring delay policy.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we rescind the Grand Traverse County hiring delay policy effective immediately.
Support.
Motion to approve and accept. Any question or comments? Yes, Mr. Rennie.
I still feel that this county is in financial difficulty. I don't understand why we would have to change this delay in hiring policy. I think it was a good idea when we first put it in. We put it in before we discussed our 14 budget. We were going to find out a bunch of stuff there to correct the situation. We found much of nothing. I don't see where that much has changed, except the county's in a little better financial position because of the revenue it's receiving. So personally, I would not support this.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Thomas?
Yes.
Inman?
Yes.
Rennie?
No.
Lathrop?
No.
Max Power?
No. You swayed me.
Wheelock?
Yes.
Inman? Or Lemkool?
Yes. Motion carries 4-3. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Next is old or unfinished business. I don't think we have any. We don't have any new business. Next is the second public comment. I'd like to say welcome to one of our students here. Thank you for being here. The civics teachers are doing a nice job in making sure you are attending our Board of Commissioners meeting. Thank you. And thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Next is Commissioner reports. Dan.
I was at Beta this morning, and they have 3 one-minute clips, kind of advertisements of new and innovative things they're doing. Really wonderful, well done. And I would like permission to have them come here and just show us those. They're very short. I don't know how to do that, but they're doing some outstanding things, Beta is, and I think you should see these 3 clips, and they could put them on the screen. So, just, I don't know who to talk to, maybe.
That'd be on Chris's agenda probably for Health and Human Services.
Yeah.
If there's going to be a meeting.
There is.
There is.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've already spoken with Wendy about doing a presentation on a radio program that I happened to overhear her on, and she has kindly consented to do that.
Okay, cool. Wendy will be
So,
there.
yes, we are going to have a
So if you
meeting.
want to have Beta on that agenda, that would be fine.
I'll see if Tom can do
I
it.
think.
Yeah. It's real quick.
You're chairman.
Yes. I have a report.
Oh, no problem. I just wanted to are you done, Mr. Lathrop?
I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chris?
I want to report that the Parks and Rec Commission had their first budget meeting this week, and we made some suggestions. One of the things that we are hoping to do is set aside a small amount of money that will be geared to be able to be used for grant matches. We understand that, for instance, if we have to have $60,000 in a matching grant through the Michigan DNR Trust Fund, we understand that $60,000 out of 1 year's budget is a lot of money for the Parks Department. Why not set aside a little bit every year if an opportunity comes along, and then we can take it? The other thing that I would like to report is the Power Island ferry service has been an unbelievable success, to the point where Fred Tank is complaining. And we voted the other night to not necessarily to raise fees right now. It has been suggested that our fees are way too low. We are going to wait until the season is over, and then we are going to reevaluate how we provide that service, and we are also mindful that that boat that we have is not going to last forever, and we want to plan to make sure that revenues cover the capital expense eventually to have to replace that boat. But it has been a rousing success. People that have never been able to visit Power Island are visiting Power Island for the first time, people who have grown up here. And just have never had access to a boat. So, and the other thing that we're looking at, we're hoping to get, is set aside money to drill a well on Power Island. Because, well, let me tell you.
Isn't there one?
What we have right now is we have 4 campsites. The well that we have there will not support any more than 4 campsites. We have an opportunity to increase people's usage of camping on the island if we are able to drill a bigger well, and at the same time increase revenue. So we're looking at that. But these are some of the issues that were discussed during our budget meeting this week. We are having more budget meetings, and but I wanted you all to know about the ferry service and what we're thinking.
You also had a person there talking about that he has a private business that provides that service, I think.
That's true. That's true.
And I don't think anybody realized it.
No, we didn't.
So-
And I'm sure there's more than just one, but we are going to be looking at this.
Yeah. And his suggestion was that we charge more for out-of-county residences, and those that are county residents that are paying taxes should get the break.
And we are all agreeable to that,
Yeah.
pretty much. But again, we're going to look at it after the season is over, and Fred is basically going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and he's running out of time to do some of his other duties. So we are looking at
But it was
ways to fix
interesting, I
this.
didn't know we had a private person doing it. When he called me, I went, huh? And I know him, it's Mike Nowak. And I've worked with him at the Cherry Festival, and he's got his captain's license, and he's providing that service. And the biggest part of his service is geocaching. That apparently people get a hold of him by Facebook for rides out to the island for geocaching. And this service that we're providing is hindering his business.
One of the things that I want to talk about Power Island, I like to see us do. I put a 200-foot dock out in front of my house, and I can hook my boat up to it anytime I want to. And I think that'd be a great thing to have a nice, long, removable dock you take out in the winter, but put it in the summer, so that boaters can come and attach to it and access the island without having to walk through 4 feet of water. We could have a attendant out there and collect fees for that. So it's another way that we could increase revenue on that island.
think you have to have the Waterways Commission in order to do that, right?
Well, I don't, on my.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just a movable dock, yeah.
You have riparian rights as long as you don't go half the distance across the body of water.
Yeah.
So,
So it'd be hard for you
I
to
don't
collect
think
a
there's
fee.
any danger of that.
Not like that.
It drops off pretty fast there.
Yeah, but the,
Any other commissioner reports? Mr. Rennie?
Yeah, we went to the employee recognition event. It was very interesting to see all the folks down there. Also attended the Pugsley quarterly meeting. Whole lot of issues going on at these correctional facilities. A lot of worried people. I'm telling you, something's going to be happening one of these days, in my opinion. They're going to have an issue, an incident, just all kinds of discontent out there, and worry about safety and security.
although the
Very
numbers,
surprising.
the numbers are getting so big.
Any other commissioner reports? Any other notices?
I don't really have a notice, but I would like us to request our administrator, when he gets back from vacation, to address the public comment that we heard tonight. I would like to know exactly what happened. So, that's my
Very
2
good
cents.
point. You know, I think people don't understand that the sheriff department is responsible for dogs on the weekends.
Well, I just don't want, I don't want the public to
Yeah.
think that somebody comes and tells us a story like that and we're ignoring it.
Hey,
And
I walk out there and that scares me.
and
I don't want to be attacked by dogs.
no, I don't either. But I would like our administrator to just give us some kind of brief report when he gets back as to what happened.
Dean has solely
And how we're fixing it.
Made a note of it.
Thank you.
Any other thing, notices? Without anything, we don't have a closed session. We are adjourned.
All right. Good meeting. Go fast enough for you?
Go home early.
Thank you, Bob.
Yes.